Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Planet X News, April 30th, 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, a few hours ago, there was a very, very large, huge coronal mass ejection on the backside of the sun. Thank goodness this was not an Earth-facing coronal mass ejection. I have put together some information for all of you to check out. During my observations of the data coming in from this coronal mass ejection, once again, folks, the culprit, the cause of the coronal mass ejection, in my opinion, was this large Planet X objects. You can actually see it on your screen right now. I have some pretty good observational pictures that I've already captured. I'm going to be waiting for more of this data to come in over the next 4 to 8 hours. If you give me just 1 minute, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the live chat so I can see it. And I'm sure a bunch of people are going to be filtering in here over the next couple of minutes as they get their notifications from the boob tube. But folks, this is absolutely incredible. And just the other day, when I was speaking with Mark from the Blue Kool-Aid channel, we did our live stream last night. I actually had a little bit of fun for the first time on YouTube. But during the coronal mass ejection that we had, I think it was about 10 days ago, we caught for the very, very first time, we caught multiple objects. And that coronal mass ejection came from that sunspot 2738. And it was just a matter of 48 hours that this sunspot moved out of the way so it was not Earth-facing. And then, bingo, we had that coronal mass ejection. And during that ejection was the time that we were allowed to see, again, for the very first time, multiple objects orbiting our sun. And that was just absolutely incredible. And in one of my conversations with Mark, I was telling him, I said, listen, just wait about 10 days, 10 to 14 days. As we get close to the end of the month, we will see some activity. Because, folks, I've been charting this out now for almost 4 years now. And I think by now, I pretty much know what I'm talking about. And I told him, I said, you wait till we get to the end of the month, and we will probably see some more activity, and we may even get another glimpse of this object. And sure enough, folks, you know, I was just poking around and monitoring the sun, monitoring some of the models that I look at every day, and all of a sudden, on the C2 on stereo, bingo, I noticed this large explosion on the sun. And from the view that I was looking at on the stereo Core 2 coronagraph, at first I started to panic because it actually looked like it was an Earth-facing coronal mass ejection. And we do have a very large coronal hole that is facing the Earth, but coronal mass ejections, they don't come from coronal holes. So that kind of stumped me for a minute, and I had to start, scattering everywhere to try to collect this data, record it immediately with screen captures and screen video captures before they tried deleting this or scrubbing this information real quick. But whenever I got over to the SEEDS website and a few of the other coronagraphs, and I pulled up the CME tracker, I have all of this for you. We're going to go ahead and check it all out. After I watched the CME tracker, I got a little bit of relief because then I was able to see that this coronal mass ejection was directly on the back side of the sun, directly opposite from us. And the timing, it's, kind of spot on. That timing was absolutely perfect. I said the end of the month. Well, Today is April 30th, the end of the month. Tomorrow, May 1st. And, something else that's been occurring all day, I've been monitoring it since about 4 a.m. this morning, is earthquake activity. And usually when we see this earthquake activity because of these coronal holes, it usually starts off on the backside of the backside of the Earth, meaning the nighttime side, and that's usually the South Pacific, on the other side of the Ring of Fire. But something totally opposite happened this time. All of that energy was being focused on North America, and there were a lot of earthquakes popping off in California and Nevada again. And we'll go over some of that information real quick. I'm going to go ahead and pull up this quick video that I put together of this data and this information, and we'll take a look at these pictures. Like I said, probably over the next 4 to 8 hours, possibly even the next 12 hours, we may get more data. We may be able to get more photographs. I have not even put these photos through my new enhancement programs yet. I wanted to get this out to all of you as soon as possible so you can check it out. I was actually going to do a live stream this evening, and once again, it was in response to a YouTube channel out there, trying to reference and make people believe that Jupiter is a brown dwarf star. And, folks, I don't know. Maybe I'll get into that at the end of our presentation here now and showing you this evidence. But I had a lot of you. I had I lost count at about 138 emails and messages that were pouring in after this video was posted on YouTube. And again, I told you folks the other day, if you stop watching some of these nonsense videos and these nonsense channels, then, you won't have me calling them out. But if that's what you want me to do, I will do it. I don't have a problem with it, because most of these channels are lying to you and they're not giving you the truth. I don't know if they're just looking for YouTube views or notoriety or stardom. I don't know. But they really, really need to get their shit together if they want to present this information to the world population. Just my opinion. But anyhow, anywho, and anyway, let's go ahead and get into this info. Because I think this was pretty spectacular, and this has to be, once again, one of the biggest captures that I've made in quite a while. But it seems to be getting more active out there. And that's kind of strange, because we're moving into this solar minimum, and the activity on the sun should be minimal. It should be very, very minimal. That's why they say the sun kind of goes to sleep during this solar minimum. But over the last 10 to 14 days, that doesn't seem to be the case. The sun seems to be pretty active. And once again, our beautiful sun has revealed this monster lurking out there in our inner solar system. What I have up on my screen right now, folks, is the coronal mass ejection CME tracker. And I'm going to go ahead and explain this for a few people that may not know what we're looking at here. This is kind of a downward view, looking downward upon the sun from way up above. And it's just a model, but it detects these coronal mass ejections. Right here, dead center, if you follow my cursor, we have the sun. Right over here in yellow to the right, we have the Earth. Over here in green, we have Venus. Over here in the orange, we have Mercury. And these other squares that you see here, you can see the legend right up here. They are satellites. And this occurred on the back side of the sun. Now, way, way over here, you can see Mars. Mars didn't play a factor. No planets played a factor in this coronal mass ejection. The only object that played a factor in this blast was this Planet X object. And, I was thinking, folks, we have to give this thing another name. I'm kind of tired over the years of calling it Planet X. It's got such a bad name. We have to figure it out. Maybe to give this one big main object some other kind of a name. But this coronal mass ejection, I'm going to go ahead and run this very, very slowly. And I slowed it down. Now, right here on the back side, you can see, right here where my cursor is, you can see this coronal mass ejection blast directly from the back side of the sun. So here's the Earth. Here's the coronal mass ejection. And whenever I saw this on the first coronagraph, the blast was so big that it created this huge halo. And normally, whenever you see these halos on these coronagraphs, well, that's usually a bad sign, because that, to me, over the years, when I see these huge halos from coronal mass ejections, it's telling me that that was Earth-facing. And thank God that this time it was on the back side of the sun. So I'm going to go ahead and let this play a little bit, and it will cycle through a couple of times. You'll see it again. And I'm going to stop it right here. Now, this is what I was just talking about. This was my view. And I said to myself, oh my God, that's coming straight for us. And as I mentioned before, folks, as we move deeper and deeper into this solar minimum, our magnetic field is going to get weaker and weaker and weaker. And God forbid that we do have a coronal mass ejection that looks like this, that is Earth-facing. And within a matter of hours, that is going to be impacting the Earth. And I'm really not sure what's going to happen. I know for a fact that it will probably spark some pretty good seismic activity. It can possibly spark some pretty good volcanic activity. But folks, just those two factors, that's enough. That's enough to cause very, very serious damage and loss of life. That's what my main concern is. You could always rebuild buildings and rebuild houses, but you can't bring back a life. Once that life is gone, it's in God's hands. And I'm sure all of you throughout life have lost somebody that you love. And these earthquakes and these volcanoes, and now we're seeing, really, really horrible flooding everywhere. That loss of life is very critical. And that's what gets to me, is when people lose their lives. On this still photograph, I stopped this and captured this, and I just wanted to show you what this halo looks like. And this actually startled me. The minute I looked at this, I said to myself, wow, there is something there already. I can see it. And if you look right here, you can see the perfect outline of this object. And that is only the beginning, folks. I took this still photograph very quickly just to show you the halo effect of this coronal mass ejection. I did not even see this object right here. I didn't even notice it till I pulled up the screenshot and started looking at it. And once again, I haven't put any of these photographs through any of my enhancement programs. I will be doing that much later. But This object was just one. There were two objects that came from the backside of this sun, and probably a third one. I do believe I did spot the third one coming around. I'm going to have to wait for a little bit more data to come out and see if I can grab it. I'm not going anywhere tonight, until the rest of this data is released. I don't care if I'm falling asleep at my desk. The minute it comes out, I'm going to grab it as soon as possible. I know Mark over at the Blue Kool-Aid channel, he will be on this like white on rice. We've already been discussing it while he was on his way home from work. So make sure that you guys are tuned into his YouTube channel. He'll probably have some additional data on this in a few hours. But I'm going to go ahead and just play this again real quick, and it's going to go through the CME tracker one more time. Let me take a sip of my Red Bull here. Oh, damn, is that stuff good. So as you can see, that coronal mass ejection was on the backside of the sun. Thank God. I recorded this from the cactus, and I placed this in super slow motion so you can see this blast. At the same time you're looking at this, and I'm going to try to stop it. Bingo. Right there. This cactus program, the data is fed into this cactus program, and then the program is available on the cactus website for us to view. But whenever they upload this, folks, the video clips of the coronal mass ejections are so fast that you could barely see anything except for the blast. It's very, very hard to detect anything if there was something there. But I've developed a way to take their real quick 10-second, sometimes they're not even 10 seconds, sometimes they're like 5 seconds, or 5, 7, 8 second real quick video clips of these blasts. But I've developed a way to download them, enhance them, and slow them down so I can actually see what's lurking in there. And over the years, it's been working very, very well. So as I slowed this down and I saw this object coming out, I said to myself, oh my Lord, look at that damn thing. There it is. Bingo. And I'm going to go ahead and let this play through here. That was one hefty blast, folks. You know, I mean, it wasn't the biggest one that I've ever seen. Back in 2012, 13, and 14, woo, man, the sun was very active. Big coronal mass ejections just about every day. So this is just giving you kind of a good idea if you've never seen one of these before. Right now we're looking at the stereo Core 2 coronagraph. And this is moving in from April 29th into the 30th. And I went and grabbed this information real quick before they scrubbed it or changed it or did something to it. And you'll see I slowed this down to about just a few frames per second, so we're able to see it. And then here it comes. Now again, from this perspective, doesn't look like too much. But the stereo coronagraph, it always has a lot of interference on it. And when you see this interference, all of this little speckly look to it, that interference is because of what is occurring. Oh, by the way, I'm going to stop it right here. There was something that blew past the coronagraph whenever I was recording this, and apparently whatever it was very, very close to the camera, also very, very close to the detector. And I'm going to have to say at this point in time, I don't know what it is, but it's very, very square and straight looking. There's a very acute 90-degree angle right there. That does not look like a cosmic ray that was detected by the stereo craft. I don't know what the hell that is, but it was there. The camera picked it up. The detectors picked it up as a heat signature, but I don't know what it is. And I don't even know how far away from the stereo camera. I don't know how far away it was either, but it looks like it was decently close for it to be recorded. You see all kinds of strange objects on these coronagraphs. I'm going to go ahead and let this continue to play through. And it will show you the coronal mass ejection one more time. And this was going from yesterday on the 29th going into today, and I believe it started to go off around pretty close to noon UTC time. It was a pretty hefty blast, let me tell you. If it would have been Earth facing, we would have definitely felt that. We would have definitely seen a lot of earthquakes going off, and possibly larger earthquakes than what's actually happening right now. And we'll take a look at this seismic activity here whenever we're finished with this presentation. But this was pretty spectacular. We're not going to be able to see the Planet X object on these coronagraphs because these cameras are totally different than what we were looking at on Cactus. Getting into real quick, I immediately went to check out the magnetosphere and the radiation belt and the solar wind, and I was kind of curious to see if anything was being picked up on these models during this coronal mass ejection, even though it wasn't Earth-facing. Sometimes that energy just does have a way to make its way around and get to the Earth. But we are seeing a lot of activity from this large coronal hole on the sun. And I'm going to go ahead and just let this play through. And you can see the electrons all the way around the satellite belt. Looks pretty normal inside of here right now. And this is going through 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning UTC time. And then you see, bingo, it starts to get worse. I'm going to just go ahead and go back just a little bit. Oops. Right about right here, you could see large influxes of electrons pouring in. And I'd probably say 99.9% of this is coming from those that very large coronal hole that's facing the Earth. So, folks, if you can only imagine these effects right now, and again, we are only in the very, very, very beginning stages of this grand solar minimum. And this does have me very alarmed because we are seeing very, very erratic activity with our magnetopause, our Earth's magnetic field. And folks, our planet relies very heavily on that magnetic field. Without that magnetic field, we are actually doomed. Doomed. And it wouldn't take very long if our Earth's magnetosphere disappears forever. Well, it's not going to take too much time for all hell to break loose on this planet. And, well, I don't know. I don't want to be Donnie Downer here, but let's just say it's not going to be a good day in the neighborhood. It's probably going to be the worst time on this planet. This is from the SEEDS website, the dual coronagraphs. We're looking at LASCO C2, and we're looking at a differential to the left, and it gives us a better view of that blast. Now, they only gave limited frames on this, but it will be updated. I'm hoping that they don't play games, and within the next 4 to 6 to 8 hours, they continue to update this data, and we're able to get all of it at one time as it was occurring. But it was a pretty spectacular event to watch. And once again, we're just looking at a dual screen, the stereo core 2 on the right and the differential on the left. And it's just showing you the CME blast. And again, folks, it was a pretty good one. Now, I can't confirm just yet if this blast came from the sunspot 2738. But it does look like it is in that position. And here was a still photograph that I took from the cactus. And once again, I'm going to just go ahead and stop that right there. And you can see this object. I mean, this was, once again, like a 1 in a million shot, because these cameras only take frames. Hold on one second. These cameras only take, well, they only give us a few frames every couple of minutes. So we are actually not seeing true video. We are seeing frame by frame by frame, and these frames are taken every 4, 6, 8, 12, 16 minutes. Sometimes it varies on what they're giving us. And fortunately for today, we got the right frames at the right time. So I'm going to go ahead and just let this play through. This is just a little bit of a close-up. And right here at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and just freeze this for a second. You can see the time frame for today, April 30th, 13/12/09 UTC time. So I think universal time where I'm at is about plus 4 hours. Yeah, so this happened a little bit later in the afternoon, my time here on the East Coast. And again, folks, I mean, I literally caught this, no, I'd probably say maybe about 1 hour after it occurred. Pretty amazing. I'm going to let this go and just let this video go through. Now here I just added a little bit of a filter color and a full zoom in, and you can see we're not even getting very much pixelization. I have not converted any of these photographs over to high definition. After I'm done with this live stream, I'm going to go check and see if any more data has been released, and then if nothing has been released, I'm going to go ahead and convert all of the photographs into the high definition, clear them up real good so we can later on, have another live stream. And, if Mark is not busy, I'll invite him over here to Planet X News to join in with me, and we can critique what I've captured here. And once I convert these images over to that high definition, I mean, we can zoom in all the way, and we can get a better definition of what this object looks like. But once again, just just an amazing capture. Look at that beast, man. This video is just going to go ahead and cycle through. I'm going to jump out of here real quick, and I'm going to pull up some of these still photographs, and let's check them out. And this was the photograph that was in the short video that I just put together. And let's see how far that we could actually zoom in without it pixelating so much. That's not too bad. It's a little pixelated. But again, folks, within the next few hours, I'm going to go ahead and run these through that enhancement program. You can see right here, you take a look at this white area right here. On this cactus coronagraph, that right there is a huge heat signature. And you can tell that that object was coming off the back side of the sun. And this side, the left side of this object, was cooking. That's about all I can say. That thing was really, really hot right there. And that is an absolutely beautiful shot of this object. I'm going to go ahead and jump out of here. We'll move to the next photo. Now, I took a still photograph real quick as I was panning through and slowing this video down. And this is what I saw peeping out of the side. Now, I'm not sure if it's anything, but it's very, very suspicious to me because it is perfectly round. It's perfectly spherical. So I don't know if this is one of the smaller objects. Remember, 2 weeks ago, for the first time, we captured 3 of these objects. For the first time. Real visible proof right here on Planet X News. Now, it seemed to be a large object, a medium-sized object, and one that was a little bit smaller. We may be seeing the same identical photo captures again. And I'm hoping and praying that when they release the rest of this data in the next couple of hours, that we confirm once again and we catch a couple of shots of these objects together or in different frames. Because remember, folks, this object is moving very quickly. Okay, so it's not going to be in multiple frames, especially if they're only taking a photo from this craft every 12 to 16 minutes. It's going to be out of the picture or pretty close to being out of the picture. I'm not too sure about this. It's very pixelated, but again, it's showing a little bit of heat right here on this corner. As you can see, it's white, but it's very pixelated. I really can't say for sure what it is, but it's very, very odd that it's perfectly spherical, and it's in the same area where we just saw the larger object right there. So let's go ahead and jump to the next photo. Now, these are in succession, so this is what we're seeing. So we saw, let me jump back here. We saw the big object here, and then we see this little baby peeping out right here, and then bingo, here it is. And you can see it. It's perfectly spherical. So, folks, here's the thing. You know, we're not going to see perfect spherical balls in coronal mass ejections because it's an explosion. It's an explosion of the sun's matter and plasma and heat and debris. So what are the odds of something the size of Jupiter coming out of the sun? Yeah, slim to none. So once again, these pictures are very heavily pixelated. I'm going to be running this photo and the other photos through this enhancement program as soon as I'm done. And I'm going to get a clearer view of what occurred. And here's just another photograph right before the other objects showed up. And this is the same. If I zoom in real close to it, it gets just a little bit pixelated. But I am going to convert these pixels that you see right here. That's one big pixel right there. I'm going to convert these photos to about 10,000 pixels. So in that one little box you see right there is going to be 10,000 pixels just in that little box. And it doesn't take me long. I'm so happy that I bought that program, and it is paying off big time. This photo was taken at 1600 hours UTC time during the coronal mass ejection. This was taken from stereo core 2. And again, when you're looking at stereo, the coronagraph on stereo, during any kind of coronal holes or coronal mass ejections, we are always going to see all of this interference, all of those little black and gray and white little checks that you're going to see. It's very, very hard to detect something. However, when I was looking at this and looking at the time frame of 1624, I said to myself, oh, what the hell is that right there? Right there where my cursor is. So I decided to take a snapshot of it real quick. And once again, you can see, well, I'd say about 2/3 of a sphere, and it is encapsulated in this hot gas coming from this coronal mass ejection. But folks, this to me here is not conclusive. It's very, very hard to really get a conclusive photograph on the core 2 during a coronal mass ejection, or when there is a ton of interference from the solar wind due to a coronal hole. But yeah, that's what we have there. Oh, I don't need this picture of Jupiter. But I'm going to go ahead and jump out of here real quick. And we're going to take a quick look at what's happening as far as earthquake activity is going. I'm going to pull up my quick earthquake map. And I was just checking it out just before I went on the air. And there was just earthquake activity everywhere. This was what I was talking about right here in the California area. And we'll go ahead and zoom in on this. Now, I mean, these are not huge earthquakes, but all of a sudden, they're getting a little bit bigger. 7 hours ago, this San Simeon earthquake just off the coast of California, magnitude 3.4, very, very shallow, very, very shallow. And then right down here in Baja, magnitude 3.3. And Nevada, yesterday, Nevada had a whole rash of earthquakes throughout the entire state. And we see a little bit of activity up here in Wyoming, and we all know what's up there. Old faithful Yellowstone, but really nothing to write home about. You know, a little mini quake. I mean, again, nothing to write home about. A surface quake, only 2 kilometers deep. Another one that was just south, only a magnitude 1.61. But there was quite a bit of activity up here in Idaho, Montana, Wyoming yesterday. So yeah, it's getting kind of real out there, folks. And then right here, now this is the second earthquake in 2 days that has occurred out in the middle of the Atlantic. Now, there is a huge fault zone that runs right through the center of the Atlantic Ocean. You can't see it on this map. If I pull up the USGS, you can see the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Quite a bit of activity the last 2 days right here in the Atlantic Ocean. We could pan over to the other side of the Ring of Fire, magnitude 4.5 in India, Papua New Guinea. And this one just went off 36 minutes ago, another one in Papua New Guinea. But I'm going to go ahead and pull up the USGS, and we're going to go ahead and set things all magnitudes. Let's get ourselves a different screen so we could see them a little bit better. Oh, that's not the one I want. Oh, yeah, that is the one I wanted. And let's just boost this to a wide screen. Now, yesterday, whenever I was looking at this, I started to notice just this line of quakes. Not anything really to write home about, but it's around the entire caldera. And you know, folks, when you look at this map and you see all of this barren wasteland directly south of Yellowstone, all of this barren wasteland is probably due to the last blast at Yellowstone that literally just turned all of this land into wasteland. That's probably what created the desert situations out there in Nevada. And when you look at it on an actual satellite, you can actually see what I'm talking about. So here's Yellowstone up here. And you can see once that blast occurred up here, it probably occurred in this type of a blast zone, like moving south. And you could see what it did. It just cut out valleys and gorges all through this land, and just pretty much barren wasteland. I don't want to call it wasteland, but you know, a lot of it has grown in over time. But just looking at a map like this, you can actually see the destruction at one point in time that Yellowstone actually did. And all of it, everything that you see here in brown, all moving down this way, all of this area, just this, it's kind of like a big egg shape right here. You can consider that the damage that was done the last time that Yellowstone blew its top. But we're going to get back to this street view here, and if you just take a look at this, these are all of the earthquakes in the last 24 hours. South of Los Angeles, a lot of them right around the San Andreas Fault. Now there are other faults. I have them actually turned off because we won't be able to see the screen very well. But here were two small quakes right on the San Andreas Fault. Just a lot of activity once again in California. You can see all of the sporadic activity in Nevada, and this swarm right here. And this is what I was talking about. And these aren't very big quakes, 3.1, 3.5, but they're very odd. They're just very odd to occur in this area. There's nothing going on there. There's no blasting. When you see a little square or diamond shape like this, that's an explosion. So they might have been doing some mining right there, and that blast registered seismic devices, and it registered a 2.4, but it says explosion. So when you see those little diamond shapes on the USGS map, you know those are explosions. But, you know, rolling back over here to California, right outside of, what is that, Cloverdale? Look at that nice little sporadic swarm of earthquakes. And this is all mountainous area. Just, again, very odd to start to see all of that activity in California. Well, one small quake here in Oklahoma, Arkansas, right on the Missouri line. But here's what I was talking about when we get out here to the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. There, I'm just going to back this up a little bit. There is the Mid-Atlantic Ridge Fault. And it's pretty damn big. And there was a magnitude 5.3 out there. Oh, what? That was today, actually. This one here, like, this is very odd. Here in the southeastern part of the Atlantic, magnitude 4.6. This also occurred today. If I stretch this out to, let me see if they even have it. I'm not sure if they even have the setting where I could. Yeah, if I pull this up for 7 days, it's gonna cause the website to lag real heavy. But there was another earthquake up here on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, and let's see what's happening over here. So we saw that earthquake. That one just went off, I guess. Yeah, so there's a lot of earthquake activity brewing, folks. No doubt about that. Here's another one down here in the South Sandwich Islands. Magnitude 5. You know, the earthquakes aren't that big. You know, whenever we start to get over a magnitude 6, 6.2, 6.5, that's where we can really start to see some damage. Well, there's a quake way up here in Asia. Magnitude 4.4. Actually, that was in Russia. And one over here in Japan. And these are all for today, folks. These are all the earthquakes for today. A lot of activity up in Alaska. But we're going to jump out of here real quick, take a quick look at the coronal hole on the sun that I was referring to. We're just going to pull up the 211 real quick. We're going to take a look at it. And you can see the coronal hole that was facing us right there. It actually started to expand a little bit. But as it moved away from Earth, it started to close up again. And if you remember me saying the other day, you know, I've been detecting this and watching this for like 4 years now, and wondering what is going on with this interaction with the sun. Why are these coronal holes opening up all of the time while they're Earth facing? You don't see anything over here, do you? You see, oh, nice thick sun atmosphere over here. But as soon as it starts to turn towards Earth, we start to see the atmosphere of the sun break apart right here. And when you're looking at this black area, that is inside. And that is where that solar wind flows from. And the solar wind is not actually like a wind blowing through your hair. When they refer to the solar wind, it is a heavy stream of heavily charged particles streaming out of the sun. And this is looking directly from Earth to the sun. And if you take a look at my cursor right there, right about there where my cursor is, would be the position of the Earth. So we are just a little bit below the sun's equator. So we're just a little bit below it. But we are going to be affected by this. It's already showing up. And this solar wind that comes from these large openings, it usually takes anywhere from 3 to 5 days for it to actually get here. And as of lately, the velocity's been very, very slow. 300 to 400 kilometers per second. Now, I've clocked this at sometimes over 1,000, 1,100, 1,200 kilometers per second, close to 1.5 to 2 million miles per hour. And then it does get here much, much quicker. And the impact to the Earth is much greater. But over the course of the last several months, this solar wind, the speed has just diminished. And it's a little confusing because I've really never seen the solar wind become so slow and lumbersome. And I don't know if that's a good thing for the Earth. I don't know if it's a bad thing. But it's still an impact to our planet. And when these particles hit our atmosphere and they literally sink all the way into our planet, well, we see the uptick in the seismic activity. And just over the last 24 to 48 hours, we have seen, once again, that uptick in the seismic activity. Taking a real quick observation, folks, of the corona of the sun, you can see right here, it's pretty diminished. I mean, you could almost say to yourself, it's damn near almost gone. And I've been sitting here wondering, last couple of days what that's actually going to look like in 6 months from now as we begin our dip into this solar minimum. What's it going to look like in a year from now? What's it going to look like in 5 years from now when we're halfway through this solar minimum? A lot of questions, a lot of what ifs. But I was very happy to jump on here and let all of you be the first to see this new discovery. Not going to hold all of you here too much longer because I'm going to go ahead and get to work, and I'm going to see if I can capture more data on this. And folks, share all of this information. Share it with everybody. You know, you're always going to have people out there that doubt you. And I get that question a lot. Scott, what should I say? You know, I tell people about this and they call me crazy, or they call me stupid, or they don't believe me. Well, folks, here's the deal. You know, sometimes you just can't ram something down someone's throat. They're either going to believe you or not believe you. And whenever we do talk about all of this, if it's the first time that you're hearing about this and you're truly not visualizing it or seeing it for yourself, yes, it is very, very hard to believe. You know, I mention it to friends of mine. I have over the years. They know exactly what I do. But I took it steps forward. Before I just sat there and told them about it in words, I showed them. I showed them the evidence that I was gathering. And all I heard was crickets. Chirp, 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 chirp. Because they stood there with their jaw hanging open. Because visual, observational evidence, that's the best. So the next time you tell somebody about what we're doing, what we're finding, show them. Maybe have a picture from Planet X News, take a screenshot of it, keep it on your phone, your cell phone, recommend some videos for them to watch from Planet X News where we're showing these captures. And maybe you'll just turn them around. But folks, you're always going to have those naysayers. That much is a fact. You're not going to be able to turn everybody. But I can guarantee you this much. Like I said last night in our live stream, when the shit hits the fan and things are getting real bad on this planet, if they ever do, I hope they don't. But I'm a realist. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you folks that everything's going to be peachy. Because you don't come to my YouTube channel for me to fool you. You come here seeking truth, evidence, science. I wish I could tell you that there was a pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. My personal opinion, I don't think there is. I think in the upcoming years, we may possibly be in the biggest fight for our lives. But that's my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But anyways, folks, I'm going to jump off of here, and I am going to start sifting through this data, and I'm going to try to get some more work done over the next couple of hours. And if you don't hear from me later on this evening, you will definitely hear from me tomorrow. This is Scott from Planet X News. Thank you very much for watching. And once again, folks, thank you very, very much for all of your support. Take care, be safe, and folks, watch your weather. It's getting very, very dicey. Be very careful of the flooding situations that are about to occur in the central part of the United States. Take care, folks. Good night.